Hey guys, welcome to December 2nd and welcome to the live stream. It's Saturday night. I know that most people have lives, but my life is you guys. I don't know if that's sad or something that is really exciting, but here we are, Saturday night. You guys know I'm doing this in two places, so I'm gonna have to kind of teeter back and forth between the two. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna put them side by side, and then I'll be able to see sort of both things. So now I can see who's talking to me, who's not. Okay, awesome. I'm not gonna keep everybody long. Hey, who's joining me today? I don't know who's joining me. Oh, that's Carla. Carla, is that you? I think that's Carla. I think I saw her pretty little picture. Hi. We're talking about purpose today and how do you even know what your purpose is, because I feel like this question is something that I get asked all the time. It's funny because people will send me messages. They'll send me like entire emails, like super long emails. First of all, I always love when you guys send me emails because, I don't know, it just gives me something to do. So I love email. I get these like weekly, like multiple times a week. Somebody will say, hey, you know, I watched one of your videos for the very first time, or I saw something you posted on Instagram for the very first time, and it really resonated with me. And here are all the things that I want to do. I want to do this, 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 this. And I don't know what to choose. Like, oh my gosh, can you help me? Like, I don't even know what my purpose is. Like, how do I find it? And I always reply back with pretty much the same thing. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting that you are now entering in the space where you want to explore your purpose. I think that that's what people are designed to do. And so it is just an honor that you would even share with me what is on your heart. But secondly, I am a firm believer that everybody kind of knows what their purpose is from like a little child. And the reason why I say this is because after going through my story, I spent years up to this point, but more recently, I would say in the last year, I spent a great deal of time understanding my story, going back to my childhood, realizing what those things were that I did intuitively, and now I've transitioned, or not transitioned, but I brought them to the surface so I can now do them intentionally, if that makes sense. So all of the things that you were able to do as a child, the things that you knew instinctively to do, the things that you loved, the things that you were good at, all of those things, I don't care what anybody says, I'm a firm believer that those things are the things that you were always meant to do. And as a child, you kind of don't have a lot of the baggage, you know, that we carry when we get older. As adults, we don't have the fear, we don't have a lot of the discouragement. We don't have a lot of the outside world telling us what we can and cannot do. And so as a child, there were things that I was able to do that I now see in myself now. And I've, like I said, brought them to the surface so that I can do intentionally what I've always known how to do instinctively. And I think all of you guys are kind of in that same space. Hey! So I see some people who've joined us on YouTube. I see some people on Facebook. I see some people on YouTube. Happy that you guys are all joining me. Let's see. Oh, okay. Who cannot hear sound? Because I feel like maybe if you turn it up, because it's looking like there is sound to me. So if you don't see the sound, or if you don't hear the sound on YouTube, let me give you a different link to go to. I think maybe that'll help. If you are on Facebook and you can hear me, let me know. I just want to make sure, because so hold on, there's a little technical difficulty. So we're going to figure out our sound situation right now. But just don't worry, we'll figure it out. Hold on, I always have this. So maybe if I do this, this will help me. Can you hear me on Facebook? Can you guys hear me on Facebook? Because people are on YouTube and they're saying that they cannot hear me. So obviously that is a technical glitch and we need to fix it, which means that I may need to plug something in so that you guys can actually hear me. So tell me because it's telling me that you can hear me here. But if you can't, then I will choose this instead, and then you guys can still hear me. So can you guys hear me on Facebook? Please tell me if you can hear me on Facebook. Tell me on YouTube if you can hear me yet, because I don't know. Actually, you know what? I can actually just check. Give me a second. Anyway, so as I was saying, purpose, I think, is something that you know from a very early age. We just kind of, you know, we tell ourselves that we don't, but the truth of the matter is that we do. And so I have like a test. I have like a test to kind of check and see if you know, if you are actually walking in your purpose. Let me know if you're on Facebook, if you can hear me, because I really can't tell. And so if I need to, like, you know, redo my life and come back, then I will. Just give me a second to kind of test and see if this is working. And where it's working. Okay, good. Okay, great, thank you. So everybody can hear me on Facebook. If you cannot hear me on YouTube, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna send you over to Facebook because I feel like on Facebook, you know, they can actually hear me. So I'm gonna stop streaming this on YouTube, and then I'm going to just talk inside of Facebook, and then I'll upload to YouTube later, if that makes any sense. Sorry guys, if you're on YouTube, head on over to this link instead. I'm sorry, because everybody's on Facebook like, what do you mean? We're here, we can hear you. There are a few people that are on YouTube. Yes, okay. So if you are on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, go there, and then you'll be able to hear me, because I'm gonna stop the stream on YouTube and see if I can chat with you guys inside of Facebook. Instead, for some reason though, I can't see your comments in YouTube, I mean on Facebook, which is so bizarre. So yeah, isn't that weird? Okay, I'm gonna stop streaming on YouTube now because there's no sound apparently. So I'm so sorry about that. We'll stop there and we'll just pop on over to YouTube. Okay, so here we are talking about our lives and talking about our purpose. And now I have to do this because I can't see all of the comments, which is so bizarre. It drives me nuts, like how technology is. All right, so if you don't know my story, and a lot of you guys, most of you guys do, I feel like, but if you don't know my story, then you'll know, like, I did not come from a place where entrepreneurship or owning your own business or, you know, or having an elaborate, I guess, dream or vision was the typical thing. I grew up very, very middle class in a very apple pie neighborhood, you know, where everybody went to football games on Saturday and everybody had working parents. And, you know, I grew up in a military family. My dad was in the military. And so that's what I knew. I didn't experience, like, you know, a very elaborate lifestyle necessarily. I just didn't. And I was okay with that. Like, because I still think that, you know, growing up, there were things that like I said, I knew on the inside very, very early on that I have to figure out how to see you guys' comments because I can't see them. Oh, see, now you can hear them here. And I was okay with that. Like, stop! Okay, see, now you guys can hear yourselves, and I'm trying to, okay, my phone, technology is just not our friend today. You guys, this is what happens when you're, like, live streaming, and, you know, this is what happens. All right, but it's okay, because you know why? We are going to make it so that the music is lower. All right, so growing up, when people would ask me what I wanted to be when I would grow up, I didn't have an answer. Thanks, Carla. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. It was YouTube that was having an issue with hearing me for some reason. Okay, so growing up, when people would ask me what I wanted to do, I would, like, just make it up. Like, I'd honestly, I can't remember a time where I was like, doctor, lawyer, teacher, you know, like, nurse, whatever people would say growing up. I think I would just make up an answer, because what I truly wanted to be, I don't know that I knew how to express fully. Probably because it didn't exist. Like, I mean, YouTube didn't exist when I was 4. You know what I mean? And so I didn't know how to express that. And so but I knew, like, really deep down, I can look back to when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, and just knowing that I was meant to be something different. I was meant to have a bigger platform, if you will. I was meant to speak to people. I just knew that very early on. So when I look at, you know, growing up, I always had, like, leadership skills. Like, I played a lot of sports, and there was a lot of clubs, and everything that I ever did, I always ended up taking a leadership position very quickly. It would be like I would start it, and then bam, I would be like the captain, or I would be, you know, the team lead, or you know, something like that, even in the jobs that I got out of college. Having said that, the things that I was doing, I did a lot of really good things, and I don't want to discount how good the things were that I did. The jobs that I had, they were good, but I knew that they just weren't enough. Like, there was something else that was out there for me and what it was I was wanting. And I had to sort of get into the position where I I needed to either be okay with where I was, or I needed to figure something out. I mean, that's the truth. And I think that's where a lot of people really are, is you're either going to be okay or you have to figure it out. And I could only figure it out to a point, you know what I mean? Like, I would have these jobs because that was normal. Like, you go to school, you go to college, then you get a job, and every job I had, I felt like it wasn't it. And they were good jobs. And I was doing jobs where I was helping a lot of people. I was doing jobs where, you know, I was reaching people. It wasn't what, I don't want to say it wasn't enough, because it was enough, but for someone else, right? Like, I was living somebody else's life. Raise your hand, everybody who kind of has felt like that, like feeling like you are living or have lived someone else's life. Definitely, because I know that a lot of people feel that way. And I got to the point where I didn't want to steal anyone else's life anymore. Like, people were offering me jobs, and they were, like I said, good jobs. And I was like, okay, like, somebody else would love this position, right, Carla? Somebody else would love this position. I cannot, like, not in my good conscience and integrity, I cannot take this opportunity away from someone. So that sort of started the cycle of me, like, transitioning into different jobs and different careers. And I worked in corporate and then nonprofit and in ministry, and I did all these things, but still never really found my footing. Okay, so let's fast forward into this purpose situation, because I have three, I guess it's like a litmus test with three categories where if all these three things are in line, then you know that you're living out your purpose, right? Okay, number one, like, to live out your purpose, you have to honor God. Number two, you have to honor others. And number three, you have to honor yourself. Now, the interesting thing about this is you can honor God and honor yourself, but not honor others. You can honor God and honor others, but not honor yourself, which is what I was doing. Like I said, I worked in ministry, I worked in nonprofit, and those were really, really great jobs. Like, I was honoring God. I was doing, like, you know, God's work. I'm, like, doing some really awesome stuff. I'm honoring others. I'm serving. I'm helping them, but I wasn't honoring myself, because there's a lot in those positions that were out of alignment for me, because I knew that there was something else. Does that make sense? Okay, but you can also honor others and honor yourself and not honor God. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of permutations to those three things. But when all of those three things are in alignment, you are living out your purpose. Okay, well, let me repeat it. Honor God. It sounds so simple, right? Like, honor God sounds like a Girl Scout motto. Honor God, honor others, honor yourself. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more. So I'm going to use an example, and whatever you believe about the Bible, whatever. Like, if you think it's the truth, if you think it's allegory, I think the story is still pertinent, because I'm going to talk about Moses for a second, because I think his example in the Bible is an example of somebody who is living to honor God or to honor others, but not honoring themselves. And it always comes back, because the bush keeps burning. And so I'm going to use that as an example. So if you don't know the story of Moses, like I said, it's truth or allegory, but either or, whatever you believe, it's still pertinent to what we're talking about today. So Moses, he was born a Hebrew slave, essentially. The Egyptians said, okay, there's too many Hebrew slaves. We need to kill all of the newborn babies. So they were like, they created a decree that was a mass genocide to kill all of the newborn Israelite babies that were, you know, birthed. Obviously, Moses' mom did not want him to be killed, and so she put him in a basket, sent him down the Nile River. The Egyptian princess found him, adopted him as her own child, and so he was raised as a prince of Egypt with Egyptian royalty. However, he was still a Hebrew. He just was raised in the palace, and the Hebrews were over there, and he was over here. He had a burning passion for the Israelite people, because he was one. And so one day he saw that one was being mistreated, and he ended up murdering the slave master. The Egyptian slave master was illegal. So instead of facing the consequence, he fled. But understand that it has to take a great deal of rage and passion to murder, so like to kill somebody, like, because we see bad things happening all the time, and I don't think our first instinct is to let me go kill that person. We may want to, but he actually acted on whatever it was, like whatever passion he had for the slave that was being mistreated. He acted on it because he was so passionate about the injustice that was happening that he said, I need to do something. And his version of doing something happened to be, let me kill, you know, the slave master. Okay, that's fine. So he fled. He goes to Midian. He gets married, whatever. He has a father-in-law. And so now he may have thought he was living in his purpose, because he was, you know, he was honoring others, like he was tending to his father-in-law's sheep, like, you know, like I'm tending his sheep, so I'm honoring others. He's honoring God because maybe, you know, he's, you know, doing what he's supposed to do. He's a good son-in-law, you know, he got married and all of those things, but there was still a part of him that was not, he was not honoring himself. And in himself, he clearly had a very strong sense of wanting to address and fix an injustice, which was Hebrew slavery at the time. And so we all know the story. Well, I don't know if we all know the story, but if you do know the story, you know, he gets there and the bush keeps burning, right? Because the bush, the passion for him wanting to solve this injustice, he sees the burning bush, and like I said, the bush keeps burning. It's a fire inside. And for those of you who have a passion on the inside, likely you've had that passion for a very long time. You just have not addressed it, or you're afraid to admit it. And that's really where I find most adults to be, especially, you know, after you've kind of grown out of your youth space, when you feel like you can just do anything and life is limitless. But then you have to face the big bad world, and you have to, quote unquote, get a job. And when you have to get a job, you look around, you look to the left, and you look to the right, and then you hear what other people are saying, and they're like, well, this is the way to success. This is how you find success. It's college, career, whatever. It's get a good job, you know, have a pension plan, retire at 65. It's, you know, this is the traditional path to success. And the majority of us, that's what we've experienced in life. Sorry, I'm just scrolling up to kind of see if there's anything here. So that's what we've experienced, is what tradition says. And very few of us have learned the art of defining success for us, like defining success according to what you're called to do. Because the truth of the matter is you will not be successful, like truly successful, until you are doing what you're supposed to do. Because in every position to the outside world, when I had all the other jobs and I was working in nonprofit and I was working in ministry and I was working in higher ed, to the outside world, that could have looked like success. Great job, administration, you know, leadership positions, decent salary, you know, whatever. I owned a home, like all of those things to the outside world could look like success. But on the inside, there was a lot that I was struggling with that no one, I don't even think that I knew, but I went through a period of time where I was faced with anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety. It was like a 6-month period of anxiety, and I just didn't know what it was. Like so here's the thing with the anxiety, like I went to the doctor and he was like, you have generalized anxiety disorder. And I was like, first of all, I'm not going to accept that I have an anxiety disorder, because I knew on the inside that really was a spiritual alignment thing. And it wasn't like I was like living foul or, you know, running away from God or anything. Like I wasn't doing anything like that. It was just on the inside. I knew that there was something that demanded expression that I had not been able to express yet. I don't know if it's because I didn't know. And I tried a lot of different things. Like I started singing. I thought, okay, maybe if I pursue music or singing, like that was going to be it. And it just wasn't. I mean, I think it helped. It definitely helped my anxiety because it gave me a creative outlet, but I still suffered from anxiety, and that anxiety turned into, gastrointestinal issues. And it's not really something I don't think I've ever talked very much about it, but it was like a good 8-month period of time. And I had like all these medications and it just wouldn't go away. And it was right about that time that I found YouTube. That was when I really started, like, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to start making YouTube videos. And I didn't relate the two. Like, I wasn't like, I'm anxious. I suffer from anxiety, so let me start a YouTube channel. Like, that's not what happened. It was just like, I was suffering from anxiety. That's what I was doing at the time. Like, and then YouTube, I was like, oh, well, I can, it's a creative outlet. So let me just start to talk about stuff on YouTube. And then once I had my YouTube channel, even when no one was watching, the anxiety kind of subsided. I felt like it just, like, one day it just went away. Like, there was no more, because I had something that I think put me on the right path. Because if it wasn't for me making the decision to sit on my bathroom floor, with my little point and shoot camera and a flat iron, I never would be here, right? So it's like you don't know what the one thing is that is going to change everything. And for me, it was that decision to sit on a bathroom floor and talk. And it was awful. The video's bad. I mean, you can look at it. It's still on YouTube. The video's awful. But it was mine. And it was, the channel was mine. And it was a stepping into, okay, yeah, let's look at that. See, I think a lot of people are experiencing that. Right. So, okay. So we have Jeannie experiencing it. Special. Special? I love how your name is spelled. Has experienced it too. I think a lot of people feel that way, especially if you are called to something great. And I don't want to say that not everybody's called to something great. I think everyone's called to something great in their own way. Some people are called to a bigger stage. Some people are called to affect change on a grander scale. And I always use my mom as an example because, like, my mom, like, I said this story before as well. My mom's an immigrant. Like, she's from the Philippines. Like, she didn't have any, any dreams of standing on anybody's stage or being on anybody's social media, although she's great at Facebook. She didn't have that growing up. Like, she just wanted to get to America. Like, it was like, her dream at the time was just to come to America. And it happened. She set an intention. Well, she didn't say America. She said she was going to go abroad because there weren't a lot of opportunities in the Philippines. And so she set an intention. And then one day she was hanging out with her friend, going to another friend's 1-year-old birthday party, and met my dad. Like, it was like the most random thing. My dad, it's a long story. I'll have to tell you the story about my parents because I think I learned so much from that story. So remind me to tell you guys that story one day because it's not a typical Cinderella story, but there's a lot of like ups and downs to that story. But the point is, she set an intention, and that was her big dream, and that was it. And so the fact that she, is living her best life, retired now, she loves it. But she is not suffering from any anxiety. But for me, what seemed like, a great life was not, it wasn't the life for me. And I needed to admit that to myself so that I could walk in purpose. Because I was honoring God by, going to work and being a good employee. I was honoring others with the things that I was doing. I was, serving others. Every job that I had was in service to other people because it was nonprofit or it was education, it was something, but I wasn't honoring myself. And if I wasn't honoring myself, then I wasn't walking in my purpose. And conversely, like I said, you can honor yourself, right, and honor others, but not honor God. And that's not living a life on purpose either. You can honor yourself and honor God, but not honor others. So there's a lot of different kind of, combinations of what that looks like. But until all three are in alignment, like, you're really not in a position where I think you can stand with integrity and say, I'm truly, truly walking in my purpose. Does that make sense? Hey, Indira. Right. So anyway, I just wanted to come on and talk about that because I feel like people struggle, and I wanted to share a little bit about my story when it comes to finding my purpose. But finding my purpose was really, it was a combination of not knowing, but knowing at the same time. It was not knowing because it didn't exist when I was like a teenager, when I was like 12, 13, 14, 15. Well, YouTube didn't exist. Social media didn't exist. So I didn't realize that, this would be a platform that I would get to share my message with. But I knew that there was something, right? Like, I knew growing up very, very early on, I knew, and I would be lying if I told you that I wasn't like a 5-year-old thinking about these things, like, because I just knew it. Like, when all of my friends like wanted to do like the little stuff, I was like, well, I'm changing the world. Like, I don't, and it was very early on that I knew it. And I think for a lot of you guys, you feel it too. Like, a lot of you guys have felt it, and a lot of you guys have felt it to the point where it does pull you into that space of maybe depression. A lot of people struggle from depression. A lot of people, it'll manifest itself. Like, when you try to contain it and you're not living on purpose, it manifests itself in addiction because that energy has to go somewhere, right? My energy turned into anxiety. It threw itself into anxiousness and just, that tightness in your chest. I had a panic attack one time when I was in California visiting friends, doing nothing, watching TV, and all of a sudden just like this sense of panic, right, came over me. My friends called 911. We didn't know what was happening. You know what I'm saying? So, because the energy has to do something. And so sometimes it'll go into addiction because you just need something to control. You can't control your life, so let me control at least this. Sometimes it'll go into an eating disorder. Sometimes it'll go into anger. Sometimes it goes into sickness and illness and disease. A lot of disease, we know this. I mean, this is scientific. A lot of disease, like heart disease and other like stomach diseases, like a lot of that is caused from stress, and we stress ourselves out because we don't live a life of freedom that we're called to live. And I'm telling you, there's so much freedom when you are able to step into the thing that you're supposed to do. And you wake up every morning, and I wake up and you say, man, thank you. And it's just this overwhelming sense of gratitude because you realize like not everybody gets to experience this, but they can. Like, it is available to all. Like, this It is available, whether it's you want to be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be an artist, whether you want to be a doctor, whatever it is you want to be, like your purpose, the thing that you're supposed to do, it is like everybody has one, and stepping into it is available to everybody, but everybody doesn't do it because of fear, because of what other people say, what other people are going to think, the judgment that is going to follow. We judge ourselves for wanting it. There were so many times where, especially in my 20s, where I would judge myself like for wanting it. Like everybody else, you know, they were happy, like out of college, for example, everybody was happy to get a job, everybody. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to get one because I'm going to need a job. I mean, you know, when I graduate, but I wasn't like excited about it. Just so many things in my 20s when people were wanting to, like just solidify their careers or, you know, get the house with the white picket fence and 2.5 kids and all that stuff. And for some people, that was enough. That was enough for them. I'm not judging them for that because everybody has their path to walk. But for me, looking at that life, it's not the life that I wanted. I didn't want it when I was 25. I didn't want it when I was 30. Like I looked at that life and it wasn't what I wanted. And I remember being so sad, you know, when you're in your mid-20s and that's what everyone's doing. And you look at that and you're like, why am I not normal? Like, why do I not want those things? You know, it makes you feel some kind of way. And so I was very insecure about the things that I desired because I felt like I was abnormal. I felt like, and I was, I mean, let's be honest, but I felt like abnormal was bad and it wasn't. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. One of my clients, when she fully stepped into her purpose, she lost like 20 pounds or something, like because she was finally able to shed a lot of that weight. Overeating, migraines. I know somebody who was in the same position, who had a job, hated it every night, every Sunday night, I should say. Every Sunday night she would experience migraines because the next day she had to go to work. And she didn't equate the two. But until I pointed it out and I said, the reason why you're getting migraines is because you have to go to work on Monday and you don't even want to do it. And so you're trying to, you know, fit into this life that was never really meant to be yours. Jeannie has many, okay, you have a lot of ideas. You can't pinpoint which to develop first. I would say just start engaging. So here's the thing, Jeannie, when it comes to ideas, you really have to start engaging with the idea. And this is something that all of my clients know, because when they are like, oh, let me think about it, I'm like, no, talk it out. Like when you talk it out, you get a sense of clarity that you might never have before. Last week I told you guys about a one-day deep dive day that I did with one of my clients, and we sit for 8 hours and we literally dive deep into their story. Like, I want to know what happened when you were 4. Tell me about what happened when you were 4. And my job is literally to write everything down, and then I go, oh, okay, so do you see the pattern, right? Do you see the pattern from when you were 4 to when you were 16 to when you were 18 to when you were 22 and then 25, and look at the golden thread of your entire life. And most people don't know how to do this. But if you look at the span of your life, you will realize that there is a consistent golden thread that has been occurring. It is that you have the same fear, you have the same struggles, you also have the same talent and the same skills that, like I said, they'll manifest in different ways, but it's all the same, because you are who you are. You don't become somebody new. You know what I'm saying? Like, you will grow into a better version of yourself, but you are who you are. For me, growing up, I see the exact same things from the time I was 4 years old to right now. You know, over the span of 3 decades, right? I can see the exact same thing happening. And so I would encourage all of you guys to do that. Do a deep dive into your life, and you will see, I promise, you will see the consistency of how your story has been written your entire life. I highly recommend it. Because that's literally, like, it's one of my favorite things, honestly. And I was telling my client when I was doing it, I was like, this is my favorite thing, like, to sit and to listen to somebody tell me their story, and for me to pick out, because I mean, as a coach, that's my job. My job is to hold the mirror up and be like, do you see this? Do you see yourself? Do you see how amazing you are? Do you see how amazing you were when you were 4? Do you see how when you were 4, that translated to when you were 27 in that same job? And most of the time, my clients will be like, wow, I never noticed that. Right, because you don't notice it because it's your life. But when you tell the story, when you start to talk it out loud and you start to remember all of the things that have come up, like, so many things from your past, you guys, so many things from your past affect who you are today. I had a session with one of my coaches last week where we talked about something that happened to me when I was 7 years old, and it was like literally nothing. It was, you know, I answered the phone and my uncle said something to me when I answered it, and it affected my entire life. And he did, He had no idea. It was like literally a sentence, and it affected my entire life. And so there I was, you know, going through the story and sobbing because I'm like, oh my God, like how did I not know? Like, how did I not see? Right? Because I'd lived my life, and a lot of times we suppress or we forget the things that happen, but they're so effective to who you're meant to become moving forward. Good. I'm glad that that's making sense. So yes. So think about that as when you think about doing what you're doing. So Jeannie, for you, when you're like, I have so many ideas, which of those ideas is honoring God, honoring others, honoring yourself? Sometimes I think that people, when it comes to the entrepreneur world, people will jump from like this moneymaker to this moneymaker to this moneymaker to this moneymaker, and they don't realize that that's not purposeful. Like, it's entrepreneurship, sure. I mean, right, but it's not purposeful. So no matter what I do, I have a lot of side projects that I kind of work on when it comes to just being an entrepreneur and the CEO of my businesses, and I have a lot of different things, but I'm not going to abandon the core of who I am. And the core of who I am really is a coach. Like, I am a coach first and foremost. I could probably, you know, make every bit of money that I need to make doing other endeavors, but I don't think I'll ever abandon my coaching practice in at least in some way, shape, or form. I think I'll always do it because it is who I am. It is my purpose. My purpose is to speak to people. My purpose is to help them elevate to a higher level and to show up in a way that they've never shown up before. It is to walk them through their story to see how beautiful everything is and how it all fits together so that they can fulfill their destiny, so they can fulfill their purpose. My goal is to help them figure out what that destiny is and then to create strategy around making it happen. So that's something that I can't abandon, because the last time I tried to abandon it, I suffered from anxiety, and we just don't want that to happen again. Now, I think, you know, there'll be many different forms of what that'll look like. Like, you guys know I'm writing a book, and so like I'm doing a lot more speaking next year. So there's a lot of different forms of how that's going to manifest itself in, you know, the worldwide space and how I show up to serve. But I think ultimately I'm still doing, you know, the same thing, which is my purpose and what I'm called to do. So I hope that that was helpful, and I hope that you guys kind of think about your own story and see the golden thread of your purpose, because it's always been there, guys. Like, I promise, it has always been. We just sort of forget that it's there. I apologize to everybody who was on YouTube and wasn't able to watch this. I'm going to have to upload it a little bit later. But yeah, so think about that this weekend, and then come back to me and then message me, tag me inside of the group, and let me know what you come up with. I'm gonna get out of here and let you guys have the rest of your Saturday. I hope that it's a good one, and I hope that you guys dive deep into your story. You'll be so surprised too at like the stories that pop up, because there's so many things that I've forgotten. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that happened when I was like 9. And then I'll write it out, and once you kind of understand the art of taking your story and then turning it into content, which is what I do. Like, here's your story, here's how, that's what I do. Here's your story. Now you can create an entire TED Talk on this, right? So once you learn the art of doing that, then it makes it a lot of fun. It's like, you're like data mining, but from your own life. You're like content mining, but from things that have happened to you in the past. And it makes your business, it makes your presence, it makes your visibility that much more authentic, because you're showing up as yourself and not like somebody else. And your story is your story for a reason. So it's time to share it. Okay, guys, that is it. Love you guys a ton, and I will be back tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but we'll talk about something fun, exciting. Bye, guys. Oh, you know what? Indira, are you still on? Indira, maybe we should live stream tomorrow. That's what I think we'll do. She'll say yes. I don't know if she's still on here, but I'm going to see Indira tomorrow, and so I think we'll just live stream. All right, guys. Talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.